are starting with an update on our breaking news. Just about an hour ago, we heard from Columbia Police along with the Richland County coroner. They got together and held a press conference to talk about the shooting and car chase yesterday that left 2 people dead, a police officer hurt, and a suspect behind bars.
Tonight we learned more about the man police are saying is responsible for that shooting, and we heard an emotional response from Columbia Police Chief Skip Holbrook. News 19's Zoe Henry is live outside of the Columbia Police Department with the latest on that press conference. Zoe.
Darcy, Andrea, a lot of information came out of that press conference this afternoon, including the identity of the police officer who was involved in that crash on the way to respond to the chase with the suspect. Now, Columbia Police Chief Skip Holbrook identified the officer in the crash as Darian Davis. He says he was on his way to respond to the chase when the crash happened. He says Davis has worked for the police department since January of 2023, and because of this crash, he did suffer severe leg injuries and underwent surgery. He's currently in recovery. Now, Chief Skip Holbrook also talked about the suspect, who is 28-year-old Wesley Gross. When he was arrested, officers found 2 guns on him. He is charged with murder, possession of a weapon during a violent crime, and failure to stop for blue lights and sirens. Now, at the time of that crime, Gross was out on a $10,000 bond for breach of peace and presenting a firearm at a person from Richland County. Now, this was an emotional press conference, like you said, Darcy, and Chief Holbrook had a difficult time, just expressing how he felt.
I know the value they put on the sanctity of life, and I can tell you that there is never a time that we would ever invoke an ill intent to harm somebody.
Now, Chief Holbrook says the crash involving the officer is being investigated by State Highway Patrol. Zoe Henry, News 19, WLTX.
All right, Zoe, thank you so much for those updates. But now we want to give you a timeline because a lot happened yesterday. So let's take a look at what police told us today. They say at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, police were called to that Kia dealership that's on Greystone Boulevard after they got several phone calls saying that shots were fired. Now, police say they still don't know a motive, but they say when they got there, they found 39-year-old Graham Pope, who worked at the Kia dealership, shot multiple times while he was seated inside a car. He died later from his injuries, and police say the gunman, 28-year-old Wesley Gross, took off from that dealership in a Mustang and led officers on a chase. Now, during that time, police say an all-call went out with a description of Gross and that Mustang that he was driving in, and that's when another Columbia police officer, Darian Davis, was in the North Main Street area at that time, and he was going to respond to the call and started heading in that direction. But according to Police Chief Skip Holbrook, about 1 minute later, he got into a car crash at the intersection of North Main Street and Prescott. And now the coroner confirmed today that 34-year-old Ashley Brown was driving alone in a car when she got into a crash with Officer Davis right near the Obama gas station. The coroner says that Brown was pregnant at the time, and both Brown and her baby died from their injuries. Officer Davis was also hurt and had to be taken to the hospital where he had surgery and is recovering. Now, in the meantime, while that is happening, this chase is still going on. Police say Wesley Gross headed toward the Rosewood area and then sped through Shady Lane, which is in the Lake Katherine area. And they say at about 3:18, his Mustang crashed into a wooded area behind a house. They say he took off running, but he was caught. Wesley Gross was arrested by Columbia Police and taken into custody. He has been charged with murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. As you heard Zoe say, he was out on bond for a different crime at the time. He is being held at the Richland County Jail tonight.